This is Twisted Passages with award-winning author Marie Sutro. Now, let's take a deep dive into the dark world of psychological thrillers and meet the authors who created them.
Hello, and welcome to Twisted Passages. I'm your host, Marie Sutro, and today we have #1 New York Times bestselling author Lisa Gardner here to talk about her new release, Kiss Her Goodbye. Welcome, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Marie. I'm very excited to be here. You had me at Twisted Passage.
Well, you've always had me, but before I start fangirling on you and this book, can you start listeners off with an overview of what the story is about?
Absolutely. This book is standalone, but fans of Frankie Elkin, a recurring character, will be excited to know this is the 4th book. Frankie Elkin specializes in missing persons cold cases, which at this point brings her to Tucson, where a young Afghan refugee mother has disappeared. And no one seems to care, which is what she does. She looks for the missing no one else is even searching for. And Sabra, the missing woman, has a 4-year-old daughter, and her best friend is convinced there is no way Sabra would willingly leave her daughter. So Frankie is off and running in the broiling streets of Tucson in what turns out to be quite a dramatic family and international intrigue story.
The one word that just jumps out of my heart when I talk about this story is power. There is so much power in this. There's power struggles, but then there's people who exercise power, sometimes in overt ways and sometimes in very subtle ways. What made you decide to address a story like this set in Tucson?
I'm always drawn to things I don't know. I've been a novelist for a long, long time now, like 35 years and 30 plus novels to show for it. It takes me a year to write a book. It takes my readers apparently 4 hours to read them, but it takes me a year to write a book. So I'm looking for things I don't know. And I had the opportunity to meet a couple from Tucson who their volunteer work is resettling Afghan refugees. And by the time they were done describing the very real world challenges with that, I knew I had the next Frankie novel. Having said that, this is the most intense research and different kind of book I've ever written. I'm used to like forensics, like what is the mind of a serial killer or how do you operate as a sniper? And the research of this book is like, oh my God, what's it like to lose your entire country and family? What's it like to live at a refugee camp? What's it like to try to start over an entirely new country with malls and mass transit and things that don't necessarily translate? It is by far the most grueling research I've ever done, but in many ways also the most heartwarming, because what you get back to is we're all just people and everyone just want a safe future for their kid. And all the refugees I talk to, that's what they're doing. That's why they're here. And all of these struggles, which are very real, it's all about what can I do that provides the best future for my child? And that's entirely what drove Kiss Her Goodbye, how far this family would go to have the best future for their child.
We see this over and over again with immigrant communities where there is so much sacrifice. You brought out so many elements. You know, we can see a story, a headline in the news, but you brought us such real characters and you brought us layers of those stories that I don't think many of us ever think about. And the way that you did it, I mean, if I get too deep, I will start welling up here because it was absolutely so compelling and so beautiful and so empathetic, the way that you addressed these stories and the way you educated us.
When I was growing up, and I grew up in a small town as a kid in Oregon, where I never even knew another author or writer, or, I mean, anything that beyond the landscape of this 100-acre, dairy farm. What I loved best was books that let me walk in someone else's shoes. That didn't tell you what to think. That didn't tell you what to believe. That just let you experience something that, again, being from a small, remote community, I hadn't experienced. I went into writing Kiss Her Goodbye with very much that intent. My job is not to tell you what to think, what to feel, or what conclusions to draw. My job is just to show you an experience. And I would argue a very human experience. And I would say the only kind of maybe agenda I brought to the table is I personally feel like we spend so much time now talking about all our differences. And the minute you stop talking to the refugee community, what you immediately latch onto is all the ways we're exactly the same. Our hopes, our dreams, our wants, our needs, exactly the same. So if this family resonates with you, in all honesty, it should. Everyone around the globe pretty much wants and needs the same thing, which is safety and a better future for their kids. It's really that simple.
And reducing it down to the human element is something that you do so well. You give us like the auntie character that every culture knows this woman. You go into her house and the first thing she wants to do is feed you. And she doesn't just want to feed you one thing. She wants to give you everything. And there is that intensity that no matter what topic you're talking about, she's still checking to make sure you're still eating. Enjoying.
Oh my God, it was so humbling to me. I'm in Tucson and I'm going to these refugee homes where, I mean, really, honestly, it's survivalist living. And they are offering me like enough food to feed an army for a year. I mean, I can't help but feel guilty. And my host, who is kind of facilitating all this, is like, you will eat. It's hospitality. And it's like, well, I mean, I don't mind eating. Don't get me wrong. I mean, this is amazing. And I feel madly in love with Afghan food. Oh my God, it's so good. But you can't help but feeling like, you can't help but appreciate it. These are people that have so little, but still, you are a guest in our home, and we're going to give you the best we have. Is that not a model for any of us to follow?
It's so fundamental to who we are as human beings, even as a species. I feed you.
And I welcome you.
And
I welcome you. That's a phrase I feel like we've lost touch with. I welcome you.
And in the context of immigrant communities, that is such a very important idea of welcome, especially for a country of immigrants. One of the things I thought that was so perfect, I can't imagine any other character being the protagonist for this story other than Frankie, because, Frankie always talks about, well, I don't have superpowers, but she does. She does have some superpowers.
Frankie's superpower is she's not judgmental, and she listens, and she can go from town to town. So Frankie, is a nomadic, you could call loner, going from town to town, trying to find for the missing. The rest of the world is forgotten. And the reason it works is because she does not bring judgment to the table. And she's genuinely curious about other people and their experiences and where they're coming from. And I would argue that's something we're losing. That's what makes Frankie work. Because people are like, isn't there a lot of hubris to having, a missing persons expert that's not even law enforcement? And I'm like, even law enforcement would argue Frankie can go places they can't. Because law enforcement, by definition, has an agenda and a reporting structure and a bias, where Frankie's like, I can meet you exactly where you're at, which is, I'm a deeply flawed human. And if you're a deeply flawed human too, yay, let's bond. Gotcha.
And everybody's Frankie's people. she gets on with everyone.
Yeah, people say, why is Frankie a recovering alcoholic? And I'm like, I needed a character that wasn't the classic hero. I mean, Frankie had spent most of her life making all the wrong decisions, has literally lived in the gutter, has been in the wrong side of the, plexiglass of the police station, but picked herself up and is trying to build a better life. But because of that, I mean, Frankie doesn't have judgments for anyone. life is hard. One thing I love about Frankie is her relationship with her parents, who are deceased. But I think some of her more poignant memories and recollections are she had really, really imperfect but loving parents. But her father was a pass out drunk, which kind of set the stage for Frankie. And her mom was the workaholic enabler compensating for that. And it's only now in Frankie's life that Frankie can realize the gift of their love. But at the same time, Frankie didn't grow up with anything given to her. And you could argue she had a terrible upbringing, but she'll be the first to tell you, well, not really. This is how complicated life is. And that's where Frankie operates. Frankie is at her best in that complexity. What appears and what is not the same.
Frankie, she is this loner, nomadic character, and she's kind of a solitary creature, if you will.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you know where I'm going with this, Lisa. You have an interesting team you built up around Frankie to make her successful in this novel. And part of her team and part of those she comes in contact with are not all human. And they're not all, how do we say, community-based folk, these other speakers. Can you talk a little bit about that and the absolute beauty and humor that you brought into the story that counterbalances all of these beautiful, weighty, important concepts?
So, completely accidentally, part of the Frankie series, and again, you don't have to read all the books to get this, is Frankie almost inevitably ends up with some kind of animal roommate, charge, something, which often is a mystery to Frankie herself. And this book, however, because again, Frankie's going from town to town, has to have lunch and has to find a way to make some income, right? So in this case, she takes a gig house sitting, not necessarily understanding in the beginning that the house sitting obligations come with snakes and a green iguana named Petunia, Frankie's comfort zone. And I'll be the first to tell you, not mine either, which is why I thought it would be fun for Frankie to have a iguana to take care of. I have a friend who has iguanas and he talked about what great pets they are. And I'm like, yeah, I got dogs. Yeah, no lizards, like do not need to apply. But by the time he was done and meeting some iguanas, I'm like, all right, this is a good challenge. And the snakes as well, because I don't do that either. But Petunia, the green iguana, honest to God, so grew on me. And it is amazing to me as a novelist. You're always learning new things. Iguanas can be really fun and interesting pets. And Petunia, I feel, steals the show in this book. By the end of it, you are Team Petunia. All go Petunia.
I am all over Petunia. Petunia converted me, and I am not like you. I am not a big lizard girl, but
nope.
She got through to me. I didn't think she could, even with the spikes going down the back, the click, click, click of the nails. I feel like I want to go somewhere and have like a little, like some sort of castanet for the click, click, click Petunia.
Yeah. You know, my publisher actually is like, should we have iguana tattoos, like, temporary tattoos as part of the book promotion? I'm like, hey, I don't know if it helps you buy the book, but the time you're done reading this book, you're like, I am so pro green iguanas.
I feel like there's going to be a lot of support iguanas popping up in stores.
And there should be. Again, books should go where we are uncomfortable. I am uncomfortable with iguanas and snakes, so there we went. I mean,
you hit me perfectly. I'm with you. I am a big chicken when it comes to our folks with scales, and I feel my challenge is to go to like Petco or something and pet an iguana. Like I have to find one now because of Petunia.
I feel like as a thriller writer, especially again, I've been at this for a while. You got to go those places that are fearful even for you, or you have nothing new to bring to the reader. And my job each and every book is to bring something new to the reader to experience. And for that to feel genuine and the book to really hop. And I really feel like Kiss Her Goodbye has a lot of speed and tension and narrative going for it. It has to be because I myself was actually slightly terrified for the writing of this entire novel. I'm not going to lie. I mean,
Well, one of the things we haven't touched on yet is, again, your cast of characters. Your Afghan immigrant is such an amazing, relatable character who also has a few superpowers. And it's really interesting the way that you build your characters. You had me from her opening scene where she gives us a flashback, and you just snatched my heart out of my chest and you held it the whole time. So I guess I have to tell you now, thank you. Can I have my heart back?
You know, that opening chat, I'm kind of known for my openings. That's one of those things that for whatever reason I'm good at. Of all of my openings, this is one of my all-time favorites. And if you can read that and not already feel for Sapra and already not want to read more, I challenge you. I throw down the gauntlet. Read that and then see where you are.
Well, one of the other things that was so fun about this book is you give us so many different versions of strong women. Nagina, she's kind of a little bit more of a trad wife, but once we get to meet her, her background is far more complex. And there's just so many characters that we think they might be one thing, but we learn so much more about them. The representation of the immigrant community was so beautiful because there are these layers. But what was it about each of these women that made you create them in ways that inspire all of the women who read about them?
So much of this came from the research, from actually interviewing female refugees, because I will be the first to say, I don't know a lot about Afghanistan. And I was horrified when Kabul fell and all those things happened. And I'm horrified about the fate of females over there, that kind of thing. But honestly, in that kind of distant sort of, oh, that's bad kind of way, it wasn't until I really started talking to them. And Nagina was inspired by a real life interview I did. The toughest of all of the refugees I talked to. I mean, I cried at the end of this, and so did she. And it was a young woman who worked for the Ministry of Women's Rights, which is Nagina's story in this book. They had just passed, she had worked on passing the first anti-harassment laws for females. Like, things were going so well, had actually been gone from Kabul for this whole like conference symposium on teen rights, had come back. It's a Sunday. I mean, this is one of these stories we can relate to. Was catching up on paperwork in the office on a Sunday, cubicle, you know, coffee from the corner coffee shop, doing her thing, and kind of starts getting these messages. You need to turn on the news. You need to look at what's going on. You need to go home right now. And on that Sunday, in the course of 8 hours, is when Kabul fell. And that was it. Her country, her family, she could not stay. She would have been an immediate target. So the good news is she was one of the people that got to be whisked away, but she left everything behind. A young woman in her 20s had never even lived without her parents. I mean, if you think to be at your work in a cubicle and 8 hours later, everything you ever knew, the foundation of your entire life gone, I can't even fathom it to this day. And her kind of thing, like, Kabul's like New York City. They knew there were things going on. They knew there was unrest, but we're New York City. We won't fall. It's like, and you get that hubris too. Like, that's out there. That's not us. And I mean, I cried at the end of it. And that was the first time I really started to really, really, truly get the universality of the experience. That could be you. That could be me. That could be my kid. And I feel like that's trying to be the basis of this book, For Kiss Her Goodbye. It's a thriller and it's a great missing person story. And there's these riddles and there's these clever things going on. But at the end of the day, I want to just bring you a group of people with very diverse backgrounds. And I'm not telling you who to like or what to think, but if by the end of this book, you don't like all of these people, I would challenge you to do that.
I don't think it's possible. And that's the beauty of art, is that you can have us walk in someone's shoes. And
Yeah.
again, you can read a headline, you can read an article, you can have your opinions, which,
Sure.
opinions are ubiquitous. Everybody has them, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, once you have walked through the refugee camps, the way you describe those, the issues, the layers, that is not something you can dismiss off a headline and walk away from. And I loved that in this book, I will forever hold these characters in my heart because I will have walked a little bit in their shoes. And I thank you so deeply for that.
Thank you very much. I hope readers love it, and I hope it makes them think. But I hope mostly they love it.
I absolutely adore it, and I'm sure everyone else will. Last quick question, Petunia. I understand that someone came over and was really helping you in terms of a research check and viability. How did that go at your house? And is there any chance that anyone else will be able to visit?
Yes, if you would like to visit my social media, you can see pictures of a very cranky, it turns out, male iguana, which when they brought him over, they're like, he's had a bad day. You need to give way. Don't touch him. I'm like, oh, okay, because I wasn't nervous enough. And they set the iguana up like behind me in a chair. And then the iguana decided he wanted the chair. And I'm like, oh, no, no, your chair, your office. I have 3 dogs. He got the dog bed. I have a desk. At a certain point, he was on the desk. I have a printer. At a certain point, he was on a printer. We're like, it's all yours. Make yourself at home.
And the dogs are probably like, wait a minute, we don't get to do this. Why is this guy coming in and getting to do it?
And, he was an old cranky male. That's how they put it. And he was an old cranky male, but Moy, he was beautiful and gorgeous. And watching him in action, I'm like, go you. I mean, I look forward to the day I can be an old cranky female. So go you.
I think we're all looking forward to that day, Lisa. We're going to get that, right?
Exactly.
So where is the best place for the legions and legions of fans that love you and the new fans who are going to love this book? Where is the best place for them to find you and what's coming next?
Well, if you want to see more pictures of iguanas and behind the scenes for Kiss Her Goodbye, you can go across any social media platform, basically at Lisa Gardner BKS for books. If you want to go to the website, lisagardner.com, you can also enter the Kill a Friend, Maim a Buddy sweepstakes and nominate the person of your choice to die in my next novel. I did kill some people and Kiss Her Goodbye, and don't you want to be one of them for the next book? It's possible.
Honestly, I can't imagine anything better than dying in one of your books.
It's very competitive. You can only enter once, but all your family and friends can enter also on your behalf. I mean, I think the latest winter had 40 people enter on their behalf. So, get the troops ready and campaign for your own demise.
Absolutely awesome. Again, the book is phenomenal from start to finish. Propulsive, amazing thriller filled with heart and humor and everything you could possibly want. Go out and get Kiss Her Goodbye as fast as you can.
Thank you.
You are welcome. And thank you all for joining us on this episode of Twisted Passages. We hope to see you next time.